Welcome to Ring the Damn Bell, and I have a very, very special guest that I am so excited to speak with today. Her name is April Home. You all know her by the Royal Hawaiian. Um, she wrestled for she's one of the original Glow Girls. She paved the way to professional wrestling for women. And not only is she involved with professional wrestling, she also donates her time and volunteers to help try to prevent suicide, which we will be getting to as well. April, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Aloha, everybody. Thanks for having me. And guess what, Kevin? I do have the flash across that says Ring is recording the call.
Cool.
So it
Good.
is. So it's going.
So
So
let me
yeah.
explain to you fans a little bit, people who may be watching. We've been trying to get this call going for about 45 minutes, but we were having problems with Skype, which I do the recording on. So let's cross our fingers that this will come through.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah, yes.
That's
So
okay.
let's get right into it, April. So we know that you went on and became a professional wrestler for Glow. But I want to back up to what was it like growing up in your family? What type of childhood did you have?
Well, I did have a great childhood growing up. I have two brothers and a sister, and mom and dad. So there was the six of us. And my brothers and I are 14 months apart. So we were really close. And I grew up between two brothers. So I was a tomboy. My sister came 6 years later, and she kind of was like an only child. But I started off young. I was born in Hollywood. We lived in Chavez Ravine by Dodger Stadium. So Dodger Stadium was our backyard. I was a Dodgers fan from birth, and we used to just walk up the driveway to the games. So I was pretty much a tomboy from the get go. And my brothers started off with football, so I became a cheerleader. And then they went to Little League baseball, and I told my parents, I said, I want to play baseball. And they said, well, you can't. And I said, why? And they said, because it's for boys. And they didn't have girls sports in the 60s, right? So I said, well, that's not fair. I said, I want to play baseball. And so he said, okay, well, let us check. So they checked with the league to see if I could play. And so they said, well, we'll have to have a meeting and the board will have to decide. And they said, you know what? She can play. So I said, all right. So this was cool. So that was my first thing in sports that I was involved in. And I was the only girl. And it was in the San Gabriel Valley, so Southern California. And I played with the boys and I was just as good as the boys. They used to razz my younger brother and say, oh, your sister's better than you. And, poor guy, he had to live with that, right? And then once girls softball came out is when I then jumped, because no need to still playing with the boys if they come up with girls sports, right? And so they did. I jumped to softball, and so during grade school I played softball and I played basketball, and both my brothers played baseball, basketball, and football. And then I was a cheerleader with the junior all-american. And then I went into I was real active. My mom had me in modeling school at the age of 5. I started dancing. So even though I was a tomboy, she kept me in all the girl things, to make sure that I had both sides. And so I became an entertainer at the age of 5. And I grew up in East LA, and I started dancing flamenco dancing first
Okay.
in East Los Angeles, and then eventually switched to hula. And then, having lived in Hawaii and my dad's family in Hawaii, that was just the natural thing for me to do. And I really loved it. I never quit. I stayed with hula. And then I started doing theater, community theater in elementary or in school. I did the school plays. I was a beauty queen. My mom put me in modeling, and I was Miss Alhambra. So being a queen, and everybody asked all the things that you did, before in your childhood. High school, I was on drill team in middle school. I was a cheerleader in middle school. And then in high school, I was a JV cheerleader and a varsity cheerleader. And I played softball and basketball in high school, was part of the drama department, part of the student congress, whatever. Um, and so I pretty much got involved in as much as I could. And it was great. it was busy. Like I went to school at 6:30 in the morning and I didn't get done till 11 o'clock at night because I had cheer practice before school. Then I did my regular schooling. Then I either cheered for the guys' games or I played my own games. And then at night we had theater rehearsals. So it was like a full, and then I still had to go home and do homework, right? When I got home.
Right.
So it was a busy, busy time, but it kept me out of trouble. Um, I wasn't the best student. I had a hard time because I had so many different things that I was involved in. Um, School itself wasn't my priority. My brothers, unfortunately, happened to be two brainiacs. They were naturally smart. Like my younger brother, he got bused to college when we were in middle school.
Oh,
He used to take a bus and they would bus him to Cal State LA, which is where I ended up going to college after high school. And he had already been there like 6, 7 years before. And so both of them were really just smart. And I think, like my older brother, he just was really smart because he was an athlete. And so he followed all the college teams and all the pro teams. So guess what? You got to know where they are, right? Where's Notre Dame? Where's Stanford? Where is, all the different colleges. And so his geography was really good and all of that. I didn't learn that until afterglow when I went to work for United Airlines. Then I had to learn all the geography, right? That was like the thing you had to pass a map test before you could even get hired. And so my studies were okay. I mean, I never got in trouble and I never flunked out of school, but I was a B student and I used
oh,
to
that's
work my butt off. Work my butt off. Like I'd be inside studying and my brothers would be outside playing
right.
because they never had to study. Like they could take a lesson and they just retained everything. So good, my childhood was good. We came from a talented family. My dad and his siblings were all musically inclined. My grandmother taught them all instruments, and then she taught all the grandchildren. Um, the accordion was the first thing we learned, and then some went to piano, some went to guitar.
What did you
I
play?
think I played the piano. I always
Nice.
wanted to play the guitar. I always did because my dad played the guitar. And I don't know what it is. I just never, I mean, I did everything. I got a guitar. I tried to self teach myself. I tried to take lessons. It's like even through theater, being on stage, I could sing. Don't ask me to do a solo because the only way I can carry a tune is in a bucket because I could be in the chorus, but don't ask me. Like I could go to
Well,
karaoke and I could sing like that, right?
I'm going to put
But
you on the spot. Do
yeah,
you have, by chance, and if the answer is yes, I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you have a piano where you're at right now?
no, because
Ah,
right now I'm in Arizona and I don't live here. This isn't where I live. But even where I lived in California, I did not. When I was still living at home, we did. So
right.
in our family home. So during my high school years, we had a piano, and even after. But then when I moved out of the house, I didn't have one at my house because I only played like as a kid and I never took it further. So for me, I'm always envious for anybody in a musical capacity. I went to high school with a guy named Frank Giordano, and I think I was in love with him. He was cute, right? But I think it was just the talent aspect. He was this amazing piano player, and I would do anything like to spend time, like being around, on stage and whatever production we were doing or whatever, because he was just this fabulous musician, and I like any kind of music. I mean, other than rap with all the cussing and really old school country, I had to get into country. And then I don't like heavy metal rock. I can
Oh,
do. I know
breaks
you're
my
gonna
heart.
I know you're gonna
And
say,
you know what?
but
That's two strikes for me because on my regular podcast, I have a little bit of a potty mouth. So it's like, but you know what? Because I want you a fan of the podcast, I just for you, I'm going to mostly stop cursing because I gotta have you as a fan of the
yeah,
podcast. But real quick, let me back up, and I have a list of questions. I know that we're going to go out of
yeah,
order because it's been after
that's
conversation.
okay.
You said you were somewhat raised in Hawaii, so were you on the same island that the rock mob was having her
Yeah,
shows?
yeah.
Or you did you
So
go
I
to
was
any
on
of the shows?
Oahu. So his mom, um, which I get to see, at least once a year when we're in Vegas at the Cauliflower Alley convention. But
Bob Cook
yes,
is
and
my Bob. Hold on, I'm sorry, April. Bob Cook is
yes,
my co-host on Tuesdays.
yeah, that's what you said. I
Yeah, yeah,
know.
yeah. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
but anyway, going back to, I'm sorry, I
No,
threw it out there.
so but
Going back to
but the
Hawaii.
thing is when I grew up in Hawaii, I was a kid. So I grew up on Waikiki Beach and all the services that you have. My uncle's boat was there and all anything you wanted to learn to do at the age of I don't know what it was. I was like 8, 7, I don't know. That's where I learned to surf. That's where I learned how to paddle a canoe, sail a boat, play with the local boys, learn all the bad stuff, all of that. And it was the best upbringing, but I wasn't into wrestling then.
Okay.
So I wasn't even into wrestling right before Glow, other than collegiate wrestling. So everybody says, so how were you involved? And were you like a diehard wrestling fan? And I'm like, no. I said, you know what? This just kind of stumbled in my lap. Now, if you talk to anybody who knows me today, they'll tell you that I don't like to miss Raw, SmackDown, a pay-per-view, whatever. And it's just crazy. I have to stay. And I guess a lot of it came from doing podcasts like this where they want to talk wrestling, right? And then I said, you know what? I don't like being on a show. And then what if they ask me something and I don't know what's going on, right? So that's kind of how it started Afterglow. So Roxy Astor coined Afterglow. So anything after the 80s glow, we call that Afterglow, anytime after. So Afterglow, and when we started doing appearances, that's when I really got into it because I said, you know what? I like being able to watch the show, do my prediction before, like for um, Royal Rumble. I picked Charlotte to win, and I
Oh
picked
yeah,
John Cena to win.
I
So
had
I was
CM Punk.
close. So I was close, right? So at least John Cena was in the last two. But so I like doing my little prediction before, and I used to do a podcast myself.
We're
And
gonna talk
so
about that after the show, by the
yeah,
way.
and so I did all that, but then now it's to where, all week long, I like to, if I don't watch the show, I at least go back and research and watch the playbacks and see who's doing what and all that kind of stuff. I have my favorites, Bianca and Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre is my boyfriend. Just don't tell his wife.
Yeah, you're gonna hate me because I was not a Drew McIntyre fan until just recently when he became heel because it seems like he figured out that little piece that may have been missing for his promos, and he's been doing an excellent job. And not that he, and it's not like Drew McIntyre wasn't good before. He's an amazing guy. He's been an amazing
Yeah.
wrestler for a long time. There's just something missing between him and I. But I want to go back to what you mentioned about the qualifier,
Cauliflower
the
Alley. Uh-huh.
Cauliflower Alley Club, just because it's such a great organization that helps so many professional wrestlers who weren't making the money like they
Well,
are
I
today.
can tell you personally my story.
Yeah, yeah. Well, first, tell us what the Cauliflower Club is, right? And then go into your story.
Yeah, so it's a benevolent fund. So they support any past, present wrestler, referee, manager, anything that you have involved in the wrestling industry. Um, and it's been around for a long time. People don't really realize that, but I don't I even know what year, but I don't know, somewhere in the I think 40s or 50s. Anyway, um, they basically will help if there's a wrestler who gets hurt, can't do their regular job, they will help. Somebody who maybe is sick and can't pay the medical bills, they'll help. Maybe a wrestler passes away and their family can't afford to do a funeral. In my case, I've been going for years, and see everything that goes on, and that it's a great way to get together with your fellow wrestlers, whether you wrestled in the same time or not, because it's like just a big reunion. Like I get to see guys who I used to watch back in the 80s that I maybe did shows with. And then now I've been doing shows with all these guys, all the WWF guys, some of the WWE or like Impact or AEW or the guys now that are on TV. And it's crazy because when they meet me, like Taya Valkyrie and her gang, when I did uh, Impact last year, they went crazy. She sees me and she's like, "Oh my God!" She's like running to me to give me a hug and can I take a picture? Can I take a picture? And my assistant Juan, he just was cracking up and we're laughing. She called her mom and she said, "Mom, you're never gonna guess who's here." And her mom, I guess, was really a fan. And so she's like, "Oh my God, my mom's just gonna die. We got to take a picture together and all." So it's really kind of cool when you meet the wrestlers that are quite younger and maybe their parents were involved in the wrestling, and then now that they're involved they know about us, right? So anyway, the Cauliflower Alley, when I got divorced in it's going to be 9 years this April. It happened a week before my birthday. My ex-husband had a heart attack and a stroke, and I dedicated 2 years after that to get him well. And he was a Eucharist minister in the Catholic Church, and he thought it was a great thank you for him to cheat on me. He would give communion to the parishioners on Sunday, and on Monday he'd be out chasing women. So I know of two that, and I'm sure there's more, but there were two that I caught, and one was my girlfriend. And so this happened. He borrowed a bunch of money. I was out over $150,000 and kicked me to the curb. All the bills were in my name, and he cut up all our cards. So I had no means. I never worked through our entire marriage, and I had no means to pay the bills, but he left me with them
Right.
and then left me homeless. So I was homeless and living out of my van for 3 months. And well, actually, oops, I lost you.
Nope, that was me. Sorry.
Um, I didn't, I didn't really think that my situation warranted putting an application or contacting CAC. And then one of the ladies from CAC said, "You know what? You're in a dire situation." And and I had medical. I'm diabetic, and so I was going through a lot of medical, and they actually processed. Normally it takes like about a month to fill out an application and submit that for assistance, and they actually did it like in a week. And they were able to help me get into a house. I was renting a room. It was like a lady's house, and they actually were able to, and it went straight to my landlord. So they paid my deposit and they paid my first month's rent. And I don't know, had they not done that, I don't know where I would be today.
Yeah.
So um, it's a great organization, and there's lots to do if you want to be involved. And we're trying to get some of the younger, current day wrestlers to come out. So we're getting some of the younger wrestlers that are still in the business today, so that it's not just old timers like us, but great. I just, I love it. I love going every year. I missed it. I missed 1 or 2 years recently because of me being sick, and I was planning to be there, and then I had, health issues and I couldn't go. But it's it's just a lot of fun.
Right.
So
And
this, yeah,
speaking as far as the Cauliflower Club goes, just to let everyone know, you do not have to be a professional wrestler to join this great organization.
no,
You could just
you can be
go
an
and
indie wrestler. You
yep, you
can,
can be
you
just a
can,
fan.
yeah, you can.
So
And the one good thing on what I tell people is, if you're not even a member and you want to come to the nostalgia room, so in order to participate in the events that are going on, you do have to be a member and you do have to buy a ticket. So you have to, if you live there, then obviously you don't need a hotel, but out of towners, you get a hotel rate. The last couple of years it's been at the plaza, and then you pay for the banquet tickets. So the banquets are there's 2 nights. One is a more of a casual, and then the other one is like black tie. The girls get
right,
to wear our fancy, and the guys too. They even dress up bling bling and ties and sequin jackets and all that, and it's fun. And this is the banquet that we give the awards to the different, like this past year, uh, Devon, the Dudley, the tag team received an award. I think Kurt Angle, I don't know if he was a recipient or he was there as a guest. But anyway, there's a whole list, and you get a quarterly, I think, newsletter with all the pictures of past events and things going on and what's coming up and all of that. And Ata, she got up and played the ukulele and we danced the hula. We
Like,
got as many girls or whoever wanted to get up and dance hula with her. So it's always a good time. And then there's all the activities
right,
before and after. So there's a lot of seminars. There's a lot of things about some benefits for us as wrestlers being independent contractors and things that you can do, insurance wise and those kind of things. We have medical vendors there that sell their products and things like that. And then, of course, all the wrestlers, not everybody has a booth, not everybody vends,
right.
and signs autographs and stuff. But for the most part, there's a good amount. But it's great. It's a wonderful organization, and I would encourage you to go. But fans can actually come during the day, and I think it's like 10 to 5, the 3 days of the convention. You can come, and it's free there. You don't even have to pay to get in. You can come and walk through the nostalgia room and buy whatever merch from whatever
Right.
wrestler is there. We got some of the guys that have done their books and are selling their books and autograph them. We're out there selling 8x10s, t-shirts, hats, whatever memorabilia each individual wrestler wants to do. It's a place for fans to meet the wrestlers, and you don't have to drop a bunch of money on just getting in the door. You
And,
can
the- and
go
the
and
thing is, and the thing is to actually join this, it's fairly cheap.
$25,
It's
$35.
$34.
That's
Yeah,
it.
it's 35. Yeah, it's a year.
Mhm.
It's really, really cheap. So please,
Or you
guys,
could
look
do the
into this.
lifetime. The lifetime, I think, is
Yes.
3 or 350,
Yep. Yep.
which is
So please
deal.
look into this because this is
Yeah,
such something that you can, if you're a wrestling fan, even if you're not a wrestling fan, it's something that you
yeah,
can really get behind. But let me ask you, so you said that you really wasn't a wrestling fan up until right until you got with Glow.
right.
So how did you get your start? I mean, was it just, hey, this is something that's happening, or did you
No, I
become a fan
actually,
first?
no, everything happened. And when people ask me, what did you do before? I said, all of that. I played baseball. I played softball. I was a cheerleader. I was a beauty queen. I was a dancer. And then everybody says, oh, what was any of that helpful? I said, all of it. I said, look what wrestling entails. You need to be athletic. Hopefully you're in good shape, which I was, but I got all my injuries from wrestling. I was a dancer, so I was able to move around. I had coordination. I was a cheerleader. I had the gymnastics. Not as good as the cheerleaders, right? But I did have that experience, which was helpful. And then I was an actress and a model, and I was the beauty queen, and I became the first heel glow champion that wore the glow crown.
Oh,
So all of it kind of came full circle with, okay, all these things happened. At the time I was working in Hollywood, and I worked in Hollywood so I could be close to auditions and interviews and see what's happening. My aspiration, what I was trying to do is I was already modeling, doing, print work. I was modeling live shows. I was dancing on stage productions or private shows where they would hire us for a luau or any kind of entertainment where you wanted a Hawaiian or a Polynesian review. And then I said, I want to do something. I knew that's what I wanted to do. I said, I was doing extra work and TV and movie extras and all that. And then my agent worked right across the hall. And so my agent was Bob Yanez, and his partner was
and
Jeff Bridges.
let me stop you right real quick. So you talked about, you're a model and stuff like that. If any of you fans who are not familiar with April, if you want to check her out real quick, if you can see my background, here's April right here with
Right there
Glow,
in the middle.
right there. So you can see she absolutely was beautiful. So go
Thank
ahead,
you.
your
So
background. Go
yeah,
ahead.
so across the hall was Jeff Bridges. So you remember Todd Bridges
Yes.
from Different Strokes? So
Yep.
that was his dad. So his dad
Okay.
was a talent agent across the hall. And that's how I got the audition for Glow. They came over and they said, hey, we just got something off the wire here. and it's going to be some new TV pilot, and it's going to be something about all girls, and they're looking for all girls, all shapes, sizes, ethnicity, everything. They didn't say what it was about, but they did say if you're athletic, it will be a plus. So I said, okay, I'm in. I said, I'm in. Let's do it. And so it was at the Hyatt Hotel on Sunset, and 1,000 girls showed up.
Wow.
So models, actresses, dancers, cheerleaders, ice skaters, you know, housewives, whatever. And there was a ring in the middle of the room, and David McLean and Matt Simber, the director, they're in the middle of the ring, and they're like, well, thank you for coming. Welcome to the audition, and we are going to see if we can find some wrestlers out of you, because this is for an all women's wrestling league for TV. And a third of the girls got up and left. They're like, what? I'm not here for this. I'm not getting hurt. I'm not breaking a nail, I'm not doing any of this. And they up and left. So whoever stayed went on with the audition, and I said, hey, this is exactly what I'm looking for, right? I'm not leaving until they tell me I got to go, right? So they got us into the ring, and they had us do some somersaults and cartwheels and flips. And like I said, I was a cheerleader, so it wasn't hard to do. Then they had like cameras sporadic throughout the room there, and then they did little small interviews and kind of like a screen test. And so they already had the 12. So in that picture you have there, that's six of us, six
Right.
of the original 12, right? And so they knew I was Royal Hawaiian. Then you got Tina Ferrari. I see Americana. I think there was Hollywood and Vine, and then Tammy Jones, and I'm not sure who else, but there was like six of us. And so they had the 12 characters that they were trying to pick out and do the pilot to sell the show. And so out of that audition that we did, out of the 1,000 that it started off with, they picked two girls that day. And I was one of them, and Hollywood was the other. So out of that, we were the first two girls that were cast for the show. Then they got Nadine, who is Ashley, and Tina and Ashley. She was a Raider cheerleader. Tina was a Express cheerleader. Jungle Woman was a Raider cheerleader. So Ashley went on an individual interview with Matt Simber, and she got hired for Ashley, and then they got Tina. So they asked her, do you know anybody else that's interested? Do you have any other cheerleader friends? And then that's how she got Tina. So they became Tina and Ashley. And then eventually Jungle Woman joined also, and she was a Raider cheerleader. So that's how it started. They got the full 12. It started out where they dwindled us down to like 35, 40 girls, and they knew who was who. So when I did my screen test, I said, hi, I'm April Hom. I'm going to be the Royal Hawaiian. I lived in Hawaii for half my life. I said, I'm a hula dancer, love everything to do with the islands, and, just did my thing. It was so easy, so natural to do. It was like it just fell in my lap. So I was like, okay, we'll just keep doing this. So we started training in Watts with Mondo Guerrero, so Eddie Guerrero's brother. And so we had training, and then he basically dwindled out either the girls that couldn't get the training, couldn't grasp, everybody's complaining about bruises and, sore and all this. And so either they didn't get it, or they really weren't like the look that they were eventually like. They'd look at, okay, these three over here could be a California doll. Of the three of them, let's look and see which one has the look that we're looking for and the ability to wrestle. And so I loved it. It was just the funnest thing I had ever done. Like it was like what. And even now with me having all the injuries, people always ask, now knowing what you've been in pain now for 35 years, would you do it again? I said, in a heartbeat. I said, because it was so much fun, and it was like nothing I had ever done, or there wasn't anything like it. We didn't know what we were doing. David McLean took a shot and had an idea. Oh, let's get a bunch of girls, pretty girls, try and get them to do wrestling like the guys. And
Yep. So
he
let me
had
ask
an
you.
idea.
So let
Huh?
me ask you. This is a two-part question. One, because we're going to try to talk a little bit about the Netflix show that was on that was called Glow, in bits and pieces. How closely did they how accurate was the Netflix movie as far as just at startup of it? Did they, in your opinion, did they get exactly how it was? Was there a lot of Hollywood made up into the scene as far as the very first thing, which is the startup of the company?
Yeah. Um, the Netflix show is a touchy situation or a touchy topic, but
Yep.
for me, not so much because I always am. For me, at the beginning, when we heard about it, we were like, "Oh man, that's awesome! They're making a TV show about us, right?" So anything, whether it's positive or negative, like they say, good news, bad news, it's
Right.
all good news, right? I
Right.
mean, it's getting you out there. If is there a controversy, then wow, people are interested, right? Whatever.
Right.
Well, for us, unfortunately, people didn't know, we didn't even know for that matter, the girls didn't even know why the show came to an abrupt halt. So after 4 seasons, it just quit. They went to the arena, and there was a sign on the door that said show canceled. And I guess at some point some people thought, oh, just tonight's show is canceled. But no, the whole thing was just scrapped. And so we need to connect the dots. And one of my projects that I'm trying to do is I'm trying to do a second documentary. I want, since I was one of the first to start with Glow, I was there day one. So I want to connect the dots, even though I didn't stay, right? Because I got hurt, but then you
Right.
had second season, and then David McLean left, and then the show took a turn, and there was season 3 and 4, different girls. So I want to connect and tell the stories using the season 3 and 4 girls because I know what happened at the beginning. But there were stories told and weren't told out to the public. The fans don't know. Even some of the girls didn't know. And so the show was canceled and people don't know, but the Hollywood stuff, back in the day, when I started, I told Matt and David, I'll give you 150%. I'll do whatever I can do to make the show successful. Just don't ask me to come to a casting couch because I don't know what that is. And don't ask me to come to your room. I'm not going to the penthouse unless the rest of the girls are coming behind me. So I said it straight from day one. I said, ask me to do something, I will. You don't need to touch my behind. You don't need to do whatever you're going to be doing with whoever else. I'm not into it. So let's just get that out of the way now. Never had a problem. Not to say that for the
Right.
rest of the girls.
Now, were
And
you go ahead?
no, 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 go on.
So, the show depicted from the very get go of the startup of Glow, not the Netflix show, but the real Glow, that there was a lot of drug use by, I think it was David.
Yeah.
Were you witness a lot of that or no?
No, and see, so the story you gotta remember too, Netflix is out to get viewers, right?
Right.
So what sells? Sex and
Controversy.
drugs
Yep.
and rock and roll, right?
Yep.
Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. That's what we know. So of course, Netflix is gonna the story is our story. It's loosely based on our story, and people want to say, oh well, who is it based on? Well, Nanuchka was our big star. Nanuchka was a champ, and I was her trainer, so I take pride in that. But so we know that the two lead characters, which they couldn't use our names, were Nanuchka, so Zoya, and then Americana, who was Liberty Bell. Well, if we back up and we try and say, okay, people always ask, is the show on Netflix true? Was the drugs and all that? And we're like, no. Mark Maron plays the director, and he's a druggie. Our director Matt Simber was not a druggie. They have little, what's her name, like those little robots. What was her name in the Jetsons? Ruby.
Oh,
I said
yeah.
no. We didn't have a little robot going around passing out drugs. And Matt Simber wasn't a druggie. He loved gambling and he loved women, but he was not a druggie. So that's not true. Some of the fabrications, they're gonna embellish and have some backstories, like Hollywood stories, because that's what's interesting. That's what's going to get the fans. That's what's going to get the viewers. But we did, we did have some, like I said, back to the part of trying to pat the girls on the behind and trying to do that. There were girls that thought, well, if I could do this stuff, is it going to give me more airtime? Well, look at me. I didn't do nothing. And
Right.
guess what? I played the Royal Hawaiian, and I don't know if you know, I played a second character.
Oh, really?
So my second character, I was the hillbilly tag team with Nadine, Ashley Cartier. So
Right.
we were the hooded characters. And
Okay.
so I played the second character, and I was the trainer. Once we sold the pilot, season one, we had to get all the new girls for season one. And so myself and Americana were the trainers for the show as season one started. So I had a lot to do, but guess what? I wasn't in anybody's room, and I wasn't doing things that other girls, either it was up to them or they got propositioned. So it did happen. And then going back to where Netflix came in, Babe, the farmer's daughter, who is now passed on. Unfortunately, she passed of cancer. We've got so many girls that we've lost, but she actually was having an affair with Rickless, who was the millionaire owner of the Riviera Hotel, Pia Zadora's husband, and she was having an affair with him. And she said she wanted the name Glow. She wanted that, and that he was going to have to make that happen, or she would go to his wife and the media.
Oh,
So these are all the things that I want to put in this documentary, want to
right.
tell all this and connect the dots. And so she ended up telling him, that's what you're going to do. So he immediately went to Matt Simber and said, cut it, get rid of the show. Now,
Right.
here we are in the late 80s, approaching the 90s with a hit show. Nobody had girls wrestling.
Right.
Now, people ask within the wrestling industry, why the heck didn't they sell the show? Like, let him get rid of it. You know, his wife is telling him, you need to get rid of those girls. I don't want you to have anything to do with that show anymore. They should have sold it. Somebody would have picked it up, right? And then it could have gone on for who knows how many years. Look at David right now with Wow. That's People think that's a new show
No.
just because it's on mainstream TV
Right.
now, but it's been on cable for over 20 years.
Right.
So what happened is she got the name. So she got the name Glow, and Matt Simber and Tony Simber kept all the films. So the films were all theirs, which they've done nothing with them. I've been barking up their tree for about 12, 13 years, saying, can I borrow them and
Right.
convert them to digital so I can do some projects? Every time, no. And I'm like, so what? They're sitting in a box in a warehouse somewhere, and nothing's been done for 40. Next year is our 40th anniversary. So I'm working on some stuff for our anniversary. But going back to Netflix, Babe was approached by the producers of Orange is the New Black, saw our documentary. That was our reunion show for Mount Fiji that Little Egypt organized with the guys who did the documentary. And she didn't include anybody. So um, she could have offered, even like me and Cindy as the trainers of the show, we weren't consulted, we weren't asked to participate. None of the girls were asked. I mean, if it were me, I would have said, I'll lease you the name, but I want 30 cameos. I want to use 30 original Glow Girls in your series. I don't care what they do. They can be a bartender, they could be a waitress, they could be a ring girl, I don't care what they do, but I want to use some of those girls so that we were the original girls. How excited would the fans have been
Right.
to see Netflix and see some of us in there doing cameos, right? But it didn't happen. So she involved nobody. So the only one who made any money was Ursula Hayden,
Right.
Babe's daughter.
And that's what I was going to mention. And I don't want to put a whole lot on Netflix. I want to talk about you. Um, but you know, Netflix didn't want to include you guys because they didn't want to pay for.
Exactly. They
Well,
didn't want to pay us for our characters. And guess what? You want me to sign a release to give you my character, the Royal Hawaiian, and you're not going to pay me a penny? Guess what? I got hired for Glow, and David McLean and Matt Simber chose me to be the Royal Hawaiian. They told me two things. That's going to be your character name, and you will be a heel. Other than that, everything you see that I did, whether it was in the ring, out the ring, in my promos, on commercials, whatever, all of that was me developing my character, coming up with the gimmick of crushing the pineapples and all of the things I did. That was all me. I came up with all that. They didn't give us this character. So when they came and said, "Oh, well, we want to use your character on Netflix," well, not unless you're going to pay me for it. And so when they did it, none of the girls did it.
Yeah.
Why? Why are we going to give you our characters for free? So that's why you do see what they did is they took this character and they meshed them together, and you had our Godiva and our Zelda the Brain, and you came up with Britannia. You had, so everybody says, well, where are you? Because they don't have like a Royal Hawaiian character. And so I say, I don't know, but the African American girl that is the trainer at the beginning, that would be the role I played. So they did, right, identify a individual that was a wrestler, but this is what I did. And then Awesome Kong, or Kia Stevens, who played the welfare mom, she had the story of the injury, and I had a really serious injury. And that kind of was one of the backstories that could have been me. There were others, but
Right.
I was like one of the first that had a serious injury. So when I got injured, I went back to LA, and the doctors there, I had two bulged discs, and they wanted to do surgery right away. And I said, I don't want to do that. I was scared. And I said, no. So they put me in aquatherapy, and I went through that. And today I swear by it. Aquatherapy has been my medicine. I don't do narcotics. Very seldom do you see me use painkillers, but I do the holistic route. Anytime anything comes out, whatever the new stem cell, they came out with this one Swedish apparatus where they hung you from the ceiling and did all this stuff. And so I would try all of it, even though it was expensive and insurance wouldn't cover all these groundbreaking, treatments. I would still try them just to see. But I finally got turned on to CBD, and I ended up, when I used it within days, it was amazing. I'm like, why in the world have we not been using this? With seniors who are suffering in so much pain from arthritis and all the different ailments and things like that, that I showed major improvement and no pain in 3 days. Within a week, my son was like, why are you doing chores? Like, you can't do that. And I said, you know what? I mean, I used to wake up with my hands like this. And like right now it's still because I have, my trigger finger just locked. Anyway, my hands would be closed like this, and I would have to run them under warm water every morning just to get them to open like this. And so within a week on CBD, gosh, it was amazing. And so I was like his real life commercial, because I had so many people on it, because I said, try it. Okay. It doesn't, not everything works for everybody, but I'll tell you my experience. And I had so many people on that stuff. It was crazy. I felt like a drug dealer, pushing drugs. I'm like,
Yeah.
you gotta try it.
So
But
going
yeah,
back
so
to Net, so I'm sorry, going back to Netflix. One other
um,
question about that: was there concern that if this series went on for a good long amount of time, that it would hurt the legacy of Glow, just because we have so many people who actually believe what they see is facts on TV?
well, there was at the beginning when it first came out, there were some girls that were not in favor of it. And actually, we had some that actually went on radio shows and podcasts and voiced their opinion about not liking it and were not in support of it for that reason, right? We don't want people to think that this is what we did and this is how our show was. So we have to be proactive in that case and say, hey, it's our story. It's loosely based on us. That's how we started out. Now you got to remember, Netflix is out to get viewers.
Yeah,
Like I said, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and that's how it happened. Now, whether our fans are going to believe it or not, all you could do is take our word over their word,
right.
and you kind of got to go with that. But that's why I really feel strongly about the first documentary, which was an award-winning documentary, was great. But out of 74 girls, they only interviewed 11 girls.
Mm.
So, like for me, I would like to do another one that's an up-to-date. Here we are, 40th anniversary, and where are we now? Who's
What was the
doing
name?
what?
What was the name of the first documentary?
The making of the um, gorgeous ladies of wrestling.
Okay, just in case
I
people
think
want to
that
catch it and find it. But
all you
going,
have to do is go on Amazon and put Glow documentary, and it'll
okay,
come up. Yeah,
okay.
it'll
Now,
come up, and it actually got it. They did redo it, and it went on to Blu-ray. Is
okay,
that what it's called? Blu-ray?
yep, back in the
Yeah,
day.
Blu-ray.
Yeah.
So it was on DVD and Blu-ray, and some people are still loving VHS still, like they are because it was in the 80s, right? So like
Right.
I started my own DVD. No, yes, DVD, not VHS, DVD. And I got sick and it got put on hold. So I keep telling my fans that it will still come out. I'm hoping that maybe by the end of this year I can get that done. I do have a couple other projects going on right now. Roxy Astor just wrote, produced, and starred in play Matilda the Hun, the Raw Meat. So her and Robert Wynn, one of our Glow historians, and David Navarro, who's got his own production and lighting company. And then I was fortunate enough, they asked me to have a small part in it since I was one of the ones that worked with Matilda because we were both heels and we were both there from the beginning. So I had a little part in it and I got nominated for a best supporting
Oh,
performer. Yeah, so that
nice.
was kind of cool. And I came in second place. I almost won, but it was cool. And actually, they just announced that they're going to be doing another go around. So for people who didn't get to see it, it's going to
Right.
come out again, I think in June.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but we have some other things coming up, so we just like to tell everybody, keep your eyes and ears open and we'll get the information out to you as it becomes available and stuff like that. But we have just dedicated, we have a great fan base and here we are 40 years later and they're still just as excited anytime we do anything. And when they hear something that's going on, they just, okay, what and where and when we'll be there, and so it's really cool. I've made a lot of great friends that started out as just fans and then became super fans. And I actually almost married one of my fans.
Oh, wow.
So you may not know that, but yeah, a couple years, just recently, like 2 years ago, one of my super fans, a lot younger than me, he was like 12 or 13 when he was watching me back in the 80s, and he said he would every Saturday he'd watch me dance on the apron of the ring, and he had my picture on his walls, and his uncle got him into wrestling, and all his buddies at school, and all his family knew that he was in love with the Royal Hawaiian, and he would tell all of them, you wait, one of these days I'm going to make that girl tell me she loves me. And so we had been friends. Once, the internet came out and we started again after Glow, um, people could contact us on Facebook. And so we became, friends and chatting and all that. And so him and I were friends for like 12 years. We were both married. So I was married, he was married. And then finally, when I went through my divorce, I had been divorced, like, I think at that time I was divorced like maybe 6 years and he was divorced like 3 years. And um, we kind of just said, we're not married anymore. And we waited a while too. And we're like, well, why we could date now? So we're not married. But I didn't really know how involved, but and then he went back and told everybody in Oklahoma, oh my God, you're never gonna guess. She said it to me. I waited my whole life. And he's a great guy. I thought I found my person and he's just a fabulous guy and dedicated family man, hard worker, takes care of a mother and uncle that are dying of cancer. He's got her as, oh, today is the third. His daughter turns 18 tomorrow, and single dad, and all of that. So I thought he checked all the boxes. He was just, we both thought, right? But it was, long distance just was not great. And I didn't get to see him enough. He was working. I'm retired, so it just didn't work. Like he always says, oh, our good was good and our bad was bad. But he said, we'll always love each other. And it's just one of those things where it was that wrestling love story. Like,
Right.
what? He used to watch me when he was 12 years old, this little Indian boy, right? And so his name's Dwayne. So hi, Dwayne. But yeah, he's great. And so I've encouraged him. He's always wanted to be a professional wrestler. He's a uh, freestyle wrestling champion and a freestyle boxer. And
Okay.
so I said, you know what? He's 50 now. He just turned 50 last year. And he's in great shape, works out every day. I said, and you got the look. I said, why don't you just pursue it? You go and you go to watch wrestling every weekend with your friends and your relatives, your uncles and whatever. I said, train, start looking at it. So seriously, so he is and a buddy may do singles and tag team matches, but they're going to bring me in
Oh, nice.
to like, yeah, to be like a manager and then come in and try and do some of the shows that they're going to do. And then I'm going to probably bring a couple Glow Girls and
Oh, wow.
Daisy and, yeah. So we're trying to do it from a business standpoint. And it's funny because we teased and I said, before you were getting it all, you could have had it all for free. Now you got to pay for it. I said, you're bringing me in town. Now you got to pay for my services. If I'm making an appearance, I said, it's a job now. So,
Right. Right.
but
But
yeah, he's just,
that's also great support that you're giving them. And speaking of support, going back to you, so I know that in a previous podcast you said that your family was very supportive of you getting involved in professional wrestling, except for your brother.
no,
Um,
except for my son.
was it your son?
My
Okay,
son. Yeah.
okay.
So my brother's actually the day that we did the first taping in Vegas, all my family was there except my older brother. I don't remember why he couldn't come, but my mom, my dad, my younger brother, and my sister were all there, and you could see them in the audience. They show them and everything. They zoom in and all that. But yeah, so they were all there, and my mom has always been a stage mom. So doesn't matter what I was doing, whether I was
Right.
playing baseball or sports or dancing hula or cheerleading or whatever it was. She was always my hair and makeup and made all my costumes. And then my dad came from a athletic and a talented family because they were musically inclined. He was a all-American football player and an all-American track star during high school. And so our athletics came from him, and then my mom was just this wonderful, bright light of sunshine, and everybody who met her loved her. And unfortunately, we lost her unexpectedly in 2009. And so she was my best friend. I worked with her, I lived with her, I traveled with her. And um, if you've ever lost a parent,
Sure.
it's
And
horrible. And do you have your parents?
I lost my father in 2008, and he was my best friend as well.
Yeah. So
Very, very close.
it's really tough. So losing a loved one. I've lost two sons. So that was very traumatic. And then just recently in November last year, just right before Thanksgiving, I lost my 10-month-old grandson who was very sick. He was born 2 months preemie, and he had stage 4 kidney failure. So the only way he was going to survive was a kidney transplant. And unfortunately, he had 15 surgeries during 10 months, and his little body just gave out, and we lost him the week before Thanksgiving. So he's in heaven with his great grandma because I'm his grandma, and my mom would be his great grandma. So, and he's got two uncles up there. So my two boys that I lost, they were babies, and they were 6 months old. One was Brody, and the other one was Gregory. And so, loss is, it's difficult. And um, losing children, parents aren't supposed to lose their children first, and so it's just not the natural way. But I tried it. We're plugging away, and it's been a rough couple of months. And unfortunately, I already suffer from depression, anxiety, and I developed panic attacks back in 2023. And so I have that. And then now my therapist is telling me that I do have a degree of suffering from PTSD from some other stuff that's been going on and stuff. So I'm dealing with all of that, which, I had taken off some time in this last several months since about September-ish. August, September, because of my own medical. They were testing me for cancer and some other stuff. And 2 weeks ago, I had a throat surgery. So I'm hoping that that gets better, because if not, then I have to have like a major surgery where they have to go through my throat and my chest. And so I'm not looking forward to that. So I'm hoping that this will um, continue to be good. And I have to have an eye surgery for an injury to my eye, and just a lot of stuff, that everybody has their trials and tribulations and family loss and, divorce and whatever are everyday, things that go on. And um, I just shared recently, just because I feel it's important. I do advocate, and I don't know, am I stepping out of order here? Do
No,
you
no,
want me
go
to know?
ahead, go ahead.
Um,
Yeah, I know you talked about you are
the
an advocate for to prevent
suicide
suicide,
prevention.
especially
Yeah.
with teens, because
Yes.
between the ages of 14 and 15, the highest cause of death between that age group is suicide. And then there's the elderly as well that has a very high rate of suicide over
85 years
85.
old, and
Yep,
yeah, they're the highest age range for suicide. And then of course we have a high rate of suicide in wrestling. I mean, just
right.
like last week, right? I mean, so you have that. And I got involved, I don't even know how many years it's been, with a lady named Carol Castle in Minnesota. And I met her at the Cauliflower Alley. And she's an advocate for suicide prevention because her son was a first responder and he committed suicide. And so she came up with a nonprofit organization called Wrestling for Life. And so it's involving the wrestling organization in Minnesota. And they developed a suicide hotline, unlike the national one. The national hotline you can call and they put you on hold. The organization that she is involved with is run by first responders, and they will not put you on hold. And if you're a kid who isn't able to talk to your parents, you can call that line and it won't have the ability for your parents to hit a redial button to find out who you were talking to. So it's important, because since COVID, the suicide rate in 15 to 24, last year when I used to do these talks, it was the number three cause of
Wow.
death. And this year it's up to number two. So 14 and 15-year olds, it's the number one cause of death in that age range. So it's crucial that we get out and talk about it. I also recently have been involved with the gentleman named Tim Flynn, who by coincidence is also in Minnesota, and he advocates for bullying, and not just kids, but that's where it started. Is at his kids' school there was no process to report bullying, and guess what? The bullying is leading to the suicide. So he was looking at ways on how he can improve that, because their process was a 3 week long process. You went online, you filed paperwork, and then 3 weeks down the road, someone got back to you about it. And I said, that's
Oh,
unacceptable. I said, something needs to be done right now, today. Like if something happens to me today, I need to be reporting it. There's got to be somebody that I can talk to about this. And so I do talks on the radio. We have suicide prevention talks on. I work with Patrick J. Martinez in East LA. So that's where I started as an entertainer at the age of 5. And I'm back in the same neighborhood 40 years
wow.
or 50 years, 60 years later. And I'm working in the same neighborhood, right? And so we do that. I do in person, like small talks at different events. And a lot of it, believe it or not, it's kind of ironic, but a lot of it is in coordination with wrestling promotions. A lot of the wrestling promoters, they do their community, services and stuff like that, and work with Mr. James is in what is the association? One Wrestle One, or One
Oh, Russell,
Wrestle
right, yeah, that's in Minnesota.
Wrestle
Yep.
One. Yeah, and so he does a lot of work with the Boys and Girls Club. So doing that, I was supposed to do another one. I got sick, but it was an event where it was going to be talking with the kids and about what to do when you are bullied and this and that. And then I was also supposed to do another one in Glendale or Burbank at the Taekwondo or the Karate Museum. Same thing. So a lot of them are public events. Some of them are, um, I used to do stuff at schools, and so it's just part of my community volunteering and giving back to the community. And I also am involved with the homeless shelters that I used to be involved with my church. And now I work with another organization in LA and try and get some of the wrestlers to give back. And we go down and collect, clothes and toiletries and all that kind of stuff, and take it down to Skid Row and some of the LA areas where there's like a senior area where a lot of it's a RD camp right on the street. You wouldn't believe unless you saw it, but it's a shame that we've got military veterans with nowhere to live, no one to take care of, and they fought for our country, but we aren't fighting for them. So it's sad, but I try to give back when I can. And right now, just throw it in there, is Jessie Jones, who is one of our WOW wrestlers that's been around for a long, long time. She's suffering with breast cancer right now. So she had a surgery January 6th, and then she just had one last Thursday. And so keep her in our prayers. And there is a GoFundMe if you're able to. I don't care if it's $1. Every little bit helps and adds up. But it's on my page. You can go on Sophia Lopez's page or right on Jessie Jones's page and try and help out whatever you can afford or not. So as a matter of fact, I got to do mine. That was my one. I got a little delayed, but I just got paid today. So
Well,
gotta.
so after we end this podcast, go ahead and text me that link, and what I'll do
Yes.
is I will put it
Attach it. Okay,
attach
that would be
it on
great.
there. Absolutely. Um,
Yeah, that would be great.
that's amazing work that you are doing, and that we need more people like you doing this. We're going back to wrestling real quick. You mentioned that you were playing two characters. One the Royal Hawaiian, and then a tag team wearing a mask. Did you prefer doing singles or did you prefer doing tag teams?
I like them both, and I'll tell you why. So I really, of course, you want tag team. Being one of the trainers, some girls couldn't do singles matches because they couldn't last, right?
Mm.
I mean, are you going to be able to do a singles match? Because that's longer. At least with tag team, you get a breath, you get a breather. You tag in, you tag out. It's a little bit more what I say, like action, but singles matches are as well, depending on the two wrestlers. But I liked them both because it was exciting to be able to have the interchange and wrestle with more than one girl. But I did love to do a singles match because then it was all me, right?
Right.
All about me, like everything I'm going to do, I'm in control. I'm not really relying on the abilities of another wrestler, right? So I liked both. And then with the tag team, with the masks, that was just fun because it was comical. I mean, and the challenge is I had to sometimes wrestle as Royal Hawaiian and a tag team Royal Hawaiian and then a tag team Sarah and Mabel.
Oh,
So think about this. I'm two characters. I can't wrestle the way I wrestle as Royal Hawaiian
right.
when I'm Sarah, right? Because we don't want to give away that, and nobody even knew it was me. So, and my voice is distinctive. So when we played Sarah and Mabel, we had to talk like this. Where are you gonna go? You know what? You better get over here and whip that girl with that chain. And so we had to have we had high pitched, squeaky voices, country style, and then we kind of we kind of like slumped around in the ring, right? We were kind of goofy. And whereas in Royal Hawaiian, I was the mean girl, right? So everything was just all over, right? And plus, I have a distinctive body, so it's like I had to not walk like I did. I couldn't do moves that you normally would do. And I think because of the type of character Sarah and Mabel were, is we didn't have the same style wrestling anyway. but still, like, I got to remember, right? Okay, don't act like April the Royal Hawaiian. And even David McLean, in a couple episodes, he actually says, "And here comes April," da, 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 da. And and like a couple of them, they dubbed him out, and there are a couple where they don't even take it out. He just calls my name, and so with Royal Hawaiian, I went flesh tone legs, so you could really see my big tree trunk legs. And then when I was Sarah, I wore black, and black makes you look smaller, right?
Right.
So, and nobody knew, even girls in the show. And I'm like, "What do you mean you didn't know I was Sarah? We were Sarah Mabel, me and Nadine." And they're like, "We didn't." So even the later girls in season 3 and 4, they were like, because the characters they kept, even after Nadine and I left, they had several girls step into the roles to play Sarah and Mabel because they kept them going,
Okay.
you know. But it was fun. We had a ball with it. That was the
Yep.
fun part. Yeah.
Yep. So you mentioned your injuries, and through my research, I listened to a couple of podcasts that you were on, and that you mentioned you didn't say any names, but there's also a former glow girl who has accused you of faking those
Yeah.
injuries. Um,
Mhm.
so tell us about your injuries, and then tell me why someone would accuse you of faking
Well, so
in your mind.
my main injury, so before the show even started, I used to wrestle barefooted because I was the Royal Hawaiian. I was a Hawaiian girl, so I thought, "Oh, let me just wrestle with no shoes, no boots, no nothing." And then we were doing a promo, and it was the Tom Schneider show in Hollywood, and all the girls were there. It was a panel of just myself, Americana, Jackie Stallone, and David McLean, but all the girls were there. And
And
then
I'm sorry, Jackie Stallone, is that Sylvester Stallone's mother?
mom, that's her,
Mom.
that's his mom.
Okay.
Yeah. And so she was there, and myself and Americana and David. And so the actual interview of the show was an interview panel of us, but all the girls from season 1 or pilot and season 1 were there. So we had a battle royale. It was outside in their garden, and there was a ring, and I ended up falling and I twisted, and I have a bad ankle from basketball in high school that never healed. Like, I can't even sit cross-legged because it just doesn't do that anymore. And so I tripped and fell, twisted my ankle, and it was bad. And I'm like, I'm gonna have to wear boots now because I'm gonna have it taped and then put a boot on. And so I went. So when I was Royal Hawaiian, I wore black boots. And then when I, no, no, no. Yeah, I did wear black boots, but I had blue boots also that had RH on the side. They were royal blue, like my cape. And then when I was Sarah, I used the black ones because I used to wear black leggings. So I could interchange that. But then I started just wrestling with that. So that started. So I had the bad ankle. I messed up my wrist. I messed up fingers. I dislocated my shoulder. Um, I had my wisdom teeth out in between the week. Like, we finished filming on Saturday, and I went straight to the dentist, and they yanked all my wisdom, 4 wisdom teeth out, and I only had that week because we had to rehearse and then train, and then we had to do the next show on Saturday. So I had that. Um, what else? And then everything kind of dominoed, like, it got worse. And they told me that when I said I wasn't going to have surgery, they said, "Well, just so you know, this is going to get progressively worse. So the older you get, the worse it's going to get." And for sure it did, and it still is. So December 2022, they diagnosed me with cervical disc in my neck and stenosis. And so at that time they said, "We want to do neck surgery." And I said, "I don't want to do surgery." And I have a stepson who is a quadriplegic, so I'm very experienced, took care of him, experienced with paralysis and all that. And so I went to a second opinion, and he said, "I don't think it's I don't think it's um, like absolutely that you have to have it done now." He said, "So I would say no more roller coasters," because I was a roller coaster nut, and I was still doing them even with my back. But now that it was my neck, he said, "You cannot afford to have any kind of whiplash motion or anything like that, because all you need, no rough housing, no nothing, because all we need is you to slip, one way or the other. And whether it's, he said, you may then need to have surgery for that. So I said no. And so I've, again, have just been very cautious and trying to be careful with what I do and this, that, and the other. And then right after that is when I started having more medical issues. And I was going to therapy, physical therapy at Casa Colina, which is a state of the art physical therapy hospital, surgery center, and everything. And I was going there 5 days a week. Now, if I'm not sick or I'm not injured and I don't need to be there, who the hell wants to be in physical therapy, aqua therapy, hand therapy, neural therapy, because I got diagnosed with vertigo. So all these things where I was there Monday through Friday, sometimes on Saturday if they couldn't fit me in the during the week, depending on what I needed to do. Well, then I developed panic attacks. Now, panic attacks, I already have a condition, it's called tachycardia. And so I have a racing heart rate that is right now, me sitting here, it's like 130, like if I was running on the treadmill,
Right.
but I'm not doing anything. So I take medication for that. When with the panic attacks, it feels like a heart attack. If you've never had one, which I have not, but that's how bad it is. You can't breathe. You have chest pains. Your chest gets tight. You feel like you're going to pass out. It's not fun, put it that way. And so because of my cardiac problem, if I have a panic attack, I'm supposed to get myself to the ER because guess what? I don't know if it's a panic attack
Right.
or a heart attack, right?
Yep.
So I had been at the hospital and one of the glow girls said, "Oh, she's just faking. This is all her MO and blah 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 whatever." And it's like, "Do you think I am going to pretend? Who the hell wants?" And we're talking about someone who's been sick themselves, supposedly, that if I'm not sick, why in the world would I wish that upon myself?
Right.
I'm a diabetic. I suffer from asthma, upper respiratory disease, COPD, never smoked a day in my life, but was exposed to toxic chemicals with about 65 coworkers at United Airlines. Few died. We 2.5 dozen women lost babies in one shape or form. I said, I have enough problems that do you think I want to be faking that I've got medical problems and issues and whatever, whatever. I said, you're absolutely nuts, but whatever that does for you, that you want to put me in the light. And I don't care. Talk to any of the fans. I have a lot of great fans. I have a lot of super fans. And guess what? Go ask any one of them. Then she started spreading rumors that I was scamming fans and all. So it gets dirty, and it's just like anything else, Not all families are perfect. Not everybody gets along. I don't get along with my sister. I mean, it's there, and I don't mean my sister Kathy in Hawaii. I'm talking about my real blood sister. I'm closer to some of my Hawaii relatives that are not blood related, but they're as close as can be. But you have people that don't get along and you can't make everybody happy. And unfortunately, I am in close contact with a good majority of the glow girls, and I just think that it's unfortunate that we have to shoot each other down when we should be celebrating each other's successes and projects or whatever you got going on, or when you need the help. We should be able to stand up and say, hey, I know we aren't best friends, but is there anything I can help you with, or can I, what can we do, and stuff like that. And I think it's a shame. That's why I always post, women supporting women. Any of the female wrestlers today, FWW, Future Women of Wrestling, UW in Vegas, all the girls there, all of the different organizations that promote the women. It's like, why do we have to be catty, jealous women? Why can't we be supportive of everybody? And so I just have to, talk to the hand because I don't have time for it.
Yeah.
I have enough issues with my medical problems and my own family problems that I don't need the outside nonsense that you're trying to dump on me. I don't really care. And I only answer the questions because people that interview me or have me on their shows, or even if I'm just at a flippin' indie show, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie about my age. There are some girls that I do shows with and they tell me, could you please not answer them when they ask you how old you are? And I'm like, why? Our fans are not stupid. We were on TV in the 80s. We were in our 20s. Today it's 2025. Do the math.
Right.
You're not hiding anything from them. So I don't have any problem. I'm proud to be sick, almost 62 years old. I know my body doesn't know it. My mind keeps trying to, yeah, or I should say it's the opposite way. My body keeps telling my mind, you aren't 20 years old anymore. I said, because my body is busted up, right? But everybody said, oh, but you look okay. I said, hey, come and get in my shoes for an hour and you tell me. That's why I move around a lot, is because I can't sit still. My back,
Right.
it's that bad. So I'm always having to move around and adjust and all that. But I'm blessed with as much problems as I have. I see 8 different specialists. So like this person that wants to continue to tell me that I'm faking, I said, I've got a file like this with all my diagnoses. And guess what? You think an insurance company is going to pay for stuff that I don't need? I wish I didn't have to do this
Yeah.
crap,
Yeah.
you know? So you talk all you want and you talk yourself up and you make out who you are based on your truths,
Right.
You want to promote yourself? I promote myself too, and guess what? I'm sorry, but I just had somebody um not get mad, but it was, let's agree to disagree, but I say, you're asking me for my opinion, right? Yes or no? Yes. Okay. If you want my opinion, I'm going to tell you the truth. So if you don't want that, then don't ask me. And unfortunately, that's what I did. And I'm going to shoot straight from the hip and I'm going to tell you like it is. And, sometimes people say, oh, but you're lying because you didn't say anything. Well, guess what? I choose to say what I want to say and what I think the public needs to know. I still have the right to a personal life.
Right.
However, I do talk probably more about my personal life than any of the other Glow Girls. And I do that because I'm involved in volunteering. I'm involved in advocating. So I do that so that when someone else who might have a similar problem to me will be able to relate that, oh, look, she looks okay, but she has a problem too. And it's okay to ask for help and it's okay to reach out. Mental health is so important today and it is not looked negatively like it has in the past. So
Right.
guess what? You gotta talk to someone. I don't care if it's not a professional, then you need to talk to a friend, a trusting friend or what have you. But you know, I've had people tell me, well, why do you do that? You go on there and you air your dirty laundry. And I'm like, you know what? That's how you see it. I said, my buddy, Sam, who was one of my fans, who became an assistant to the fact where he was like my East Coast correspondence, because if I missed Raw or I missed SmackDown or NXT or whatever, he would send me all the highlight videos and keep me up to what's going on. And he had some personal problems with his family, and then his dad died, and he took it really hard. And I thought I had talked him off the ledge. And guess what? I called him on a Friday. He didn't return my calls. Saturday is usually the day that he would send me all my updates on football, if it was football season, baseball, if it's baseball, whatever. And he didn't call me all day. And I talked to him 2, 3, 4 times a day. I finally, my sis in Hawaii, my nephew's a detective. He said, just call the police and have them do a welfare check. And I called. They said, you know what, we don't have to do a welfare check. We've already been out to his house. And so, you just never know. You don't know when someone will, hear something you might say or realize that, you know what, there's nothing wrong with reaching out or asking for help or getting a therapist. I mean, I've even helped somebody on the East Coast. They didn't know what to do. So I said, okay, tell me what's your area code? What's the city you live in? And I'm going to find the resource for you. And so I did all the legwork and I said, okay, here's the name of the place. Here's a phone number. You said you have insurance. So good. You're good to go. Blah, 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 blah. They didn't know what to do. But guess what? In the course of me doing the radio shows or talking about Carol Castle's organization and things like that, these are ways that we can offer that information to get it out there. It's too bad that we today, and now look at what we're in right now, right? I saw a guy today. Let me tell you what his shirt said. I took a picture of it. I met this local Hawaiian guy at the Asian market here because I went to get some local food, and the guy had a shirt on. Let me see if I can remember it without looking. It was a black T-shirt with white writing, and it said, "I only look illegal." I said, oh my God. I said, if I was in LA, I could print those and sell 1 million of them. You've seen all the
Right.
news with what's going on
Yep.
in LA?
Yep.
It's just absolutely crazy. But so, you look at all the things that are going on, like people are scared of their kids being taken away from them or their parents being, right, taken, everything. It's just so disheartening with all the different things that are going on. It's a shame that we can't provide for everybody and we can't get along. And I don't believe we still deal with racism, a 21st century, and we're dealing with racism. I mean, come on. It's just, I mean, everything, we're going backwards, and it's too bad that we've got all of these horrible things going on that when we have the ability, I watched church last night because today's Monday, right? Yeah, I watched church last night on, what do you call it? The Zoom playback or streaming.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yep.
realize that it was on stream, and I just stumbled on it, and it was our pastor Robert in Orange County. He's a pastor at a church in Orange County, and I caught his service, and I was so excited because it was like I haven't been able to go out, and I wanted to go out last week. And then my aunt that lives here in Arizona, she goes, April, we can't go to mass on Sunday. She says it's the playoffs, and I went, oh, right? And here she is, my 85-year-old aunt, or however she old, 80 or something. She's in great shape. She knows more about football than half the men. And so I said, "Oh, sorry, Auntie. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah." And she goes, "But we could go next week before Super Bowl because we can't go Super Bowl weekend." It's just either that or we got to go on Saturday. Well, because I've been suffering from a degree of PTSD, that my therapist said, it it seems like that's what's going on, because when you talk about the certain topics, um, I've even had a panic attack in front of her like this because we do our appointment on a Zoom call, and it's frightening, So I think about, like, with all the stuff going on in the world, and I hadn't left my apartment in over a month. I had only left 3 times, and so it is affecting me enough that I had been without a therapist for a whole month this month. So my therapist saw me on the 31st of December on New Year's Eve. New Year's Day was a holiday. The 2nd of January, she sent me a text message. I can't see you anymore. No explanation, no phone call, no reference, no crisis line, no nothing. This is someone who has been my therapist for 2 years. I talked to her every week, if not twice a week, if she felt that I needed it. And then she just broke up with me like a boyfriend on a text and left me high and dry, like she was my
Right.
lifeline. So I've been 3 weeks. I have been on the phone with my medical insurance and doctor's appointment lines for 30 days. And finally got an appointment. They're lucky I'm not suicidal.
Right.
But I said, I can't be. I'm a suicide prevention advocate. I said, I know what I need, but guess what? You weren't available for me. And she hung me out to dry.
Right.
So, I just say you have to. You have to be proactive. And if you can't do it on your own, then you need to reach out. I
Yep,
said,
I
because you've got to.
yep, I agree, and that's why it's so great that you're out there, because there's a mental health crisis absolutely in this country.
Yeah, you'd be amazed. And I'm a night owl, so I do have quite a few people that I stay in touch with at night because we suffer from insomnia, or whatever their issue is, here and there. And so, I do speak, with people who are having difficulties, or, they feel comfortable talking to me about it, and it's confidential. I'm nobody special, but other than an ear to listen to you, but and getting through it together, where we deal with the same type of issues or conditions. And it's good to even hear that there's somebody else that
Right,
experiences something similar to you, and you can see that they're getting along. So you just need to you know keep your head up, stay positive. For a while it was really tough for me. It was because I had nobody to talk to. It's like I was used to having this person that I knew I would talk to her once a week, and if she talked to me that one time, and then she said, I think I need to call you back like in 3 more days, and we'll check in. And I said, okay. Or something would happen and I'd have to call her and say,
right,
can you move my appointment up earlier, because I need to talk. And that's it. And especially with all my ailments, like the stress level is really, really bad for my diabetes. The stress level is really, really bad for my fibromyalgia. the,
right.
the stress is not good for my cardiac. I mean, she herself told me, you're my number one patient, I see you the most. She says, and you, I'm afraid, are going to have a heart attack or a stroke at any time, but yet I have someone that wants to accuse me of faking that I'm being sick. So it's just sad. It's sad that you got someone that is so insecure, or so jealous of other women, that they've got to fabricate their own stories about other individuals. So
Right.
it is what it is. And I'm a firm believer in karma. So you know
Yep,
what, it may not happen today, may not happen tomorrow, but you just be ready, because karma's a bitch.
yep, absolutely. And just a
Yeah.
couple more questions for you,
Yep. Hmm.
because I could take on with you for another 3 or 4 hours. You're about at an hour and a half right now.
That's okay.
Which
We,
not a
we
problem.
we went
Yeah,
almost 3 hours the other
yeah,
day.
yeah.
But you
So,
know what it is? It's like, and that one was interactive because we got to bring some fans on,
yep,
and then afterwards they just said, "Oh my God, that was so cool! That was
yeah,
fun! And can we do it again?" And so I'm gonna have another Q&A on a
awesome.
Facebook Live. And so
Yep,
that one, I
yep.
did one before, and it was like a 2 hour long. And you know what happened? I was reviewing it, and the next morning I hit the wrong button and I deleted it.
Oh,
So the only people that saw it were the ones that
that's
were
so there.
live. And it was so good because all the fans were, it was so interactive. And now with Facebook, we could bring them on camera. So that's what
Yeah,
I'm gonna do. I'm
yep,
gonna I'm gonna let them spend time
yep,
like I did with that other one.
right,
And they just thought it was the greatest, right? They just
yep,
loved
yep,
it. So
yep.
I said, yeah, we could do it, and like I said, I did used to do the podcast, but um I don't know. People say I should do it again, but I don't know. We'll have to see. Once I kind of get things a little bit better situated, then maybe so. We'll see.
But so I want to move forward to WWF or WWE now. And what I want to ask you, what do you think about when Vince McMahon had it, and during the late '90s into the 2000s, with how women were being viewed at on WWF, the divas, and just how they were being treated and how they were being booked as more as these sex objects, and doing these bra and panty matches and stuff like that. Um, was that hard to watch for you? Is that something that you were like, oh, whatever, that's what they want to do? What are your thoughts on that? Because now in WWE, the women are booked amazing. I mean, we have them. We've had a couple of them main event WrestleMania and different other pay per view or PLEs. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, to start off, Vince didn't like the Glow Girls. So back in the day, he used to tell the guy wrestlers in WWF that I don't want to see you talking to those girls. Don't be
Wow,
talking to them. And he didn't like us because our show was so successful and we were on TV more than they were. And so he didn't like us. And we still did. I mean, I remember one night we went out, a few of us went out with um the Bushwhackers, and they're just a riot, right? And we just had so much fun. And every time we would do stuff where we would go out and it'd be mixed guys and girls, and it was just ridiculous that he would tell them, oh, don't talk to them, but we still would. Some of my friends, I mean, look at Lisa Marie and Ivory, our one girl that went to WWF, right? So they just were fabulous then. Why, he had a kind of a way of I don't like to say making them out to be like a piece of meat, but you
sexualizing them.
know, I mean, just the no respect. You're talking about women who, after us, like Lisa Marie will always, whenever we do a show together, she will always grab a mic if there's a mic, and she'll always say, we have a trailblazer. We got the legend. The Royal Hawaiian is here. And, if it wasn't for her and me watching, I would maybe not have been a wrestler today. And she makes a big deal about it, right? And I say, those girls went through I mean, we started, but they, like you said, they went through a rough time, right? I mean, and I don't think they, were paid appropriately, which I've never agreed with the pay scale of any industry, to be honest, as far as men and women's pay. But I think they also did go through a period where it had to have been tough, right? I mean, you're dealing with the controversy, you're dealing with, okay, how do you deal with it when this man is your boss, you know and then all the rumors and all the stuff that was implied and then was denied, and then here it is, hindsight, we all know now what really happened, and things like that. And then I look at, like, I don't know, it's kind of like I look at us, I look at that mid, like the period you're talking about with the Lisa Maries and the Tina Ferraris and the all of that era. And then now you look at today's wrestlers, and I just think today's women's wrestling is just phenomenal. And, they deserve more, right? I
Right.
mean, at the caliber of the wrestling and the things they are doing, jumping from the top of the cages, and, Charlotte, Oscar, whatever, whoever, these amazing things, being in the trash can and coming off the top of the cage,
Yep.
all of that is just, they're putting their body on the line. I mean, like, look at Charlotte,
Yep.
her being hurt and then her coming back. And that's why, for me, that's why she was my pick for, I wanted her to win so bad, right? Like, just like, I don't know if you saw the press conference afterwards,
Hmm.
but her talking about, persevering, and
Yep.
I had to come back, and it was like she could taste it, she needed it so bad, and all of that. And so I think there's like a distinctive, change through the years, right? And today it's just like, I brag so much, and I say they deserve every little bit of whatever they're given or paid or whatever, because they're amazing, and they deserve the recognition. I mean, it'll never be equal, right?
Right.
That's just never going to happen, but it is what it is. But to have a man who's going to treat women a certain way, and then you expect them to respect you, and then
Right.
hindsight, we get the real picture and we get the whole story. So I never was a fan of his, so I don't have a problem speaking my mind, because I am a women's liber, and I support women in every way, shape, and form, and am always wanting to support. Like I'm not a jealous person. I don't care who the man is. I don't care if I'm married. I don't care if I'm single, with a boyfriend, not a boyfriend, whatever. I am not a jealous woman. Why should we be? There's enough men around, but I just don't, even within women, like I say, with the Glow Girl family. Why are we jealous of each other? Why? We have done this is 40 years now, and you're still jealous of someone, or you still got to be catty and talk about someone for
Right.
what? I mean, what are you getting out of that? But it's just another era, and similar things still going on, but it's a shame. But I kind of liked, I don't know, did you see Nat's little video of the show? Like, she did like pictures and little videos and
Yeah,
put it
I
together. No,
haven't seen that yet.
it was really good, and it was neat to see that, her taking the pictures with all the different girls, even the guy wrestlers and everyone. It was kind of like a little montage after Royal Rumble. And it was, well, maybe it could have been both, before and after, because it was trying to get everybody in. But it was kind of a cool thing to see that they were supportive of each other. They
Right.
were, I mean, even everybody knows this is a show, but, and we know, even though it is a show, there are still some people that don't like each other, which is okay, but it was nice to see that they were able to come together and, for a couple seconds, to take a picture or to get in a group shot or whatever. That was kind of cool, kind of nice to see, because I
Yeah.
know it's not always like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's amazing the actual change that the women have been able to bring, and not just within professional wrestling. WWE every year goes to Saudi Arabia, and when they first went there, it was only the men that was allowed to wrestle. But because of the women, they are now being able to wrestle in Saudi Arabia, and that people don't realize how big of a deal that actually is, and it's because of who we have as stars in professional wrestling, and them speaking up for themselves and speaking up for other women as well, including women in Saudi Arabia. So that was just an awesome, awesome thing to see.
Yeah. I even, because they asked me about what I thought about Saudi Arabia, and I said, we just have to deal with the different cultures and the different things like that. But why, I know it's a money thing, but WWE still insists on going there and doing shows there. And I said, what about Japan? Why I haven't, and I guess there was one, I don't know when it was, but with all the Japanese wrestlers, right? All the girls. I said that would be a place that I would think would be a hit of a place to have a show. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just, I'm excited because I'm hoping that um, WrestleMania in Vegas is my birthday week, so I'm hoping, I'm trying to see about even going. Like, I was just thinking, okay, let's just do WrestleCon like we did here in LA. But then Melina is having this great show. It's called Melina's Divas and Drag, and that's on the 17th. So I'm trying to be there for that, and it's supposed to be this neat. It sounds so cool, but she's got contortionists, and um, there's going to be a lip sync contest and some wrestling and like all these different things, kind of like a carnival environment. And it's
Right.
just supposed to be a fun event and stuff. It's a family show, so it'll have drag, but it's still going to be a family show. So kind of looking forward to that. And then there's a couple other promotions that I'm going to probably do some shows there and even participate in the shows and stuff. So kind of should be a fun week, but
And that leads me to my last question. Is there anything you want to promote as far as things that you're going to be doing, live events you're going to be showing up at to sell merch and stuff like that?
Right now, like WrestleMania that week, I probably will be in Vegas. Before that, depending on when I can get out of here, um, I know there's a couple shows. March 30th, I think, is East Los Lucha, wrestling in LA. I might be there. There's, oh God, what's the other one he just told me about? I can't remember, but you know what? I'll post stuff on my pages and stories. And then after Vegas, after WrestleMania, there's Wrestle. show Jersey
Okay.
in in May. I think it's May 19th, and so I'm trying to get there and know whether I can get some more glow girls to come with me. That's always my MO is I figure everybody's seen me, right? I do enough indie shows that, I'm out enough that I don't just want to, go by myself. I said the fans would love to see 4 or 5 glow girls, right? So that's always my goal is to try to do more for the fans to see if I can get a few more girls if they're available. So I'm trying to work on that for Vegas and for Jersey, but we'll see. It really just depends on their schedules and, because most of them have jobs. I'm retired, so it doesn't matter, but most of them do have a regular job. So that would be the obstacle, but I'll try and see what we can do. But
And I
yeah,
know.
so I always post.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I just post it. So I'll post where I'm going to be. But
Well, I know. So you are now on TikTok, so the fans can
yes,
find you on
well,
TikTok
we're
now.
trying to get that. I don't know why, but for some reason I had trouble last night because we're trying to do, I think Wednesday. Did you say
Wednesday with
Wednesday?
Joey. Yep,
So
Wednesday with
Wednesday with
Joey.
Joey is going to be a kind of a casual impromptu TikTok live. Was it 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock? I can't
I'm
remember.
not sure what time.
Anyway, look at my page tomorrow. I'll post it tomorrow to make sure because it is the following day. So on Wednesday, it's coming Wednesday. And so we're going to try and just have a kind of like my old one. The one I'm going to do on Facebook is they can bring a panel of 9 on and we can just chit chat and talk and they can ask their questions, their burning questions that they have for me, and we could just talk wrestling in general or current events or whatever. I try and stay away from religion and politics. It just isn't
Right.
always too not real good conversations. I just like to say let's agree to disagree, but Mike's just a gem. he's
Yep.
he's my he's my helper. He's my adopted nephew, and I would do anything for him, and vice versa, him and Maricela. So we're also still, if you guys have a chance, go on my page, and we are still trying to rescue um, Hansel, and it's going to be coming up on a year in June, and so we're still trying to catch his dad and get him back. So just the different things that go on, and they're plugging away. I don't know what I would do in that situation, so I offer myself services,
Right.
face, glow logo, whatever. I did the we had the benefit show in September, which was great, and everybody worked for free, and all the money was raised to get the attorneys paid for and stuff like that. And so, yeah, whatever cause, but he's a great guy. And for those that don't know who he is, Triple M, Mike
Well,
Martinez. Yeah.
yep. I
So
guess he's going to actually be on the podcast a week from today. I'm going to be doing an interview with him, and he's actually filled in one night as a host for me, um,
yeah.
as my co-host one night. So yeah, he is an absolute great guy. And look, I would love to go ahead and have you on again because there's some questions we couldn't get to. This was an amazing
Whenever
conversation.
you'd like, just let me know. We'll just have
Yep.
to figure out how we got on this time with our
Right.
little technical difficulties. But
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
anytime. So I mean, even if like if you want to do something and bring him on, or another,
Okay.
like if you want, or if you want another glow girl, or something like
Yep.
that, and you want me to see if I can get somebody else, to come on
Okay.
with me, because for me, I do enough of them, and I know that the fans love it, the podcast guys and all of you guys that are just wrestling fans really like it. But I know that the fans really, whether they can come on live or they can just stream it and whatever,
Mhm.
they like to hear the stories. Or, I try and talk about my assistant Juan and all the, Frank that does all my artwork and stuff like that. And, I got my friend Christopher and Omar and all the girls, like I'm a big J Rod fan. And so all the
Mhm.
ones that I try and help out and promote and do what I can when I can. But so, yeah, so if there's another opportunity and we can try and bring on
Absolutely.
another girl, it's good fun to have more than one girl, because then
Right.
it's like, I know one time, I don't know what I was thinking, but I ended up doing a radio show and I think I had 9 girls on.
Oh. Oh,
Oh, God. Talk about trying to control 9 women talking over each other. I
right.
just sat there and I was just like, I don't, I've been on this show so many times. I'll just sit and watch, and then I would interject every once in a while when they were going too over the top, and I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, let's break two other people talk, whatever. And unfortunately, my friend Steve, he passed away, so that show is no longer going. But yeah, it's fun. It's fun, and but I think if you have like maybe 1, 2, or 3 girls, it's kind of fun because at least you get to ask the same question to 3 different girls, and you get three
Oh,
different perspectives and experiences and what have you. So it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
oh, yeah, we will do something like that.
Yeah.
Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's absolutely free. Tomorrow, the Cooker Bob Cook will be on with my other co-host Mark. We will be doing a recap of Monday Night Raw. Thank
Well,
you all so much for
and
your
what time
support.
is that at?
I do. I'll probably release it probably about 8:30, 9 o'clock tomorrow night. I'll release it.
Okay, and then just to let people know, because I am gonna start taking questions, just email them to me, aprilhom25@gmail.com. Go on to Facebook Messenger. You can go on my Instagram, Royal Hawaiian 25. Just get questions, any burning questions, whether it's just a glow question or a Royal Hawaiian question, or a question you might have for another girl, and I might have the answer. We're gonna have a future Facebook Live coming up at the end of the month, and I will post the time and date so people can participate. So, yeah, so
Absolutely.
thanks, Kevin. Thanks for having me on, and
Thank,
we'll talk to you again another time.
yeah, thank you
Thanks.
so
Aloha. Bye.